Ontario's electricity demand is expected to grow 60% by 2050. The provincial government says it's launching a historic competitive energy procurement program to ensure affordability of electricity. It also says a priority, though, is protecting prime agricultural land. Let's get more from Stephen Lecce, Ontario's Minister of Energy and Electrification. Minister, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So you're interested in awarding contracts for up to 5,100 megawatts of electricity, and you're saying you're agnostic. It could be nuclear, it could be renewable, it could be natural gas.
You know, this is the largest competitive energy procurement in Canadian history. 5,000 megawatts, for context, is the equivalent of power for roughly 5 million homes a year. It is significant, because the Premier and our government recognize fundamentally that we need to produce and generate more clean, affordable power for the people of Ontario. You know, we've attracted $43 billion of investment. Our economy is electrifying. I think about the massive investments in EV, and our electricity grid, therefore, has great levels of pressure on it. And so, yes, we're taking a big step forward to procure through a technology-agnostic procurement. What that means is we're going to allow price to dictate. We want it to be affordable for families and for industry and for small and large business. We need our competitive advantage to be retained. We want to keep costs down in this province for people and for business, which is why affordability is the priority.
Now, I said 5,100 megawatts. I should have said 5,000 megawatts. But is this such a big deal? We already have capacity of about 40,000 megawatts. So this won't be enough to meet the coming demand, will it?
Well, this is going to help bridge the gap, because many of our nuclear refurbishments are right now, they're down, thus they're not producing that baseload energy that we need. And as a consequence of that, as we look in the medium term, we do see gaps emerging. And that's why we believe it's fundamental that we make this announcement, a significant announcement, the biggest of its kind in our province and in our nation's history. It does make a difference when we're producing and generating and harnessing 5,000 megawatts of power, given that so many of our industry is electrifying. We're displacing coal. The other element of this is really important, is our population is increasing at a quantum of twice the rate that many of us forecasted. And therefore, yes, we need the power. If you speak to any large utility, any industry looking to Ontario, they will say it is the strength that we have one of the cleanest grids on earth. They will also say it's a competitive advantage that we've kept our rates low for industry and for people. So this is our priority for the Premier, to build out a large energy generation program. Today is a step in a multi-step program. You're going to see large nuclear energy be the priority and our baseload. We've got refurbishments at Darlington underway. We've got the first SMR, small modular reactor, in the G7 being built at Darlington. And of course, Bruce Power is building out Bruce C, that's their plan, along with the extension of Pickering. So when you put that all together, we're talking over 10,000 megawatts of power, net new power. So this is significant. And what we don't want to be like is provinces like in Quebec or states in the US, which are desperate for power and purchasing it at a premium. We actually want to be a net energy, a clean energy superpower. We can actually not just have the power for our own needs, but export that clean energy to the U.S., monetize that asset, and of course, reduce emissions continentally.
Although I'm looking at the Logic, which is an informative business and technology website, they say that more than 4,100 megawatts of this is simply to replace contracts with wind and solar companies that will expire over the next 10 years. They can reapply. But how much of it is new electricity then, if it's just replacing existing contracts?
This is 5,000 net new megawatts. So this is not a replacement program. This isn't a new program. It's an addition. We're adding it into our energy grid, both including storage, because we want to allow renewables to partake, but also generation. And that can include, as you mentioned, hydroelectric, and can include nuclear, it can include natural gas, it certainly can include renewables and biomass. So we've taken an all-the-above approach, given the economic needs of the province and the rising demand in our grid. I mean, we have to double the grid. This is a massive public policy undertaking with significant impacts to the Treasury. And so that's why we want to take this in a phased approach, cadenced, where we really make affordability the priority. Now, keep in mind, we are refurbishing, extending, and expanding. I mean, Bruce C is a net new addition of roughly 4,800 megawatts of clean, emission-free power out in Bruce County. That's a power to produce 5 million homes. So we're adding to the grid, we're expanding generation, we're keeping it clean, keeping it affordable. And that's a fundamental difference in our announcement, because what we're not going to do is make a ideological decision. We're going to allow price to dictate. We're going to keep the rates low, maintain a competitive advantage. A decade ago, under Liberals, businesses led the province. They left, they fled because we lost our competitive advantage. Hydro rates were so prohibitive. And of course, the cost of living increased as well, the carbon tax.
You're getting a bit political there, Minister, anyway, but I'm going to cut you off because you were getting into slamming your political opponents. One thing I'm curious about, of course, when your government came in, you cancelled hundreds of green energy projects. It cost Ontarians more than $230 million. So are you doing a U-turn now?
Well, sorry, just to respond. I'm presenting a factual difference of perspective between the former government that cost 300,000 jobs, because according to the CEOs of those businesses, including Chrysler Fleet, the price of energy was prohibitive. It's at the core of why I'm talking about this today, because we're trying to maintain an advantage for the industries, the jobs, and the families who depend on affordability. Now, to your question, we canceled projects saving the ratepayer $1 billion.
Well, that's your number, but it did cost us $230 million as taxpayers to compensate people when you yank these contracts.
We saved the ratepayer of Ontario. This is an independent analysis. It's not my number. I just got here 3 months ago. This is an established number since 2018, $1 billion over the course of those contracts, paying 8 times the premium for energy we did not need in 2018 or 19. And so now we've produced a plan that puts price and cost at the forefront, keeps rates down, does not include a carbon tax for which the former Liberal government imposed, and it allows us to harness renewable energy with storage, which we had 0 megawatts of storage capability or battery at the time. We now have procured the largest in Canadian history, 3,000 megawatts by 2028. The other difference here is that we're respecting community will. Last time, the former government and the Liberals imposed projects on unwilling communities. We're requiring municipal support resolutions, and we're not going to displace farmland. We made a commitment that we are going to prohibit certain forms of energy infrastructure on prime agricultural lands because we understand what our farmers are telling us. So we've listened to the people we serve. We've certainly learned lessons from governments past, and we're leaning in for more affordable and, of course, reliable and clean energy for the people of Ontario.